Last week, Bitcoin had a very mixed week. We saw a big dump and a very big pump afterwards. Bitcoin is now running into big resistance. Are we going to see another dump from this point? In this video, I will tell you everything about Bitcoin and what we can expect for the coming week. I will also talk about the two altcoins, Cardano and Chainlink with you. There's a lot to talk about and a lot of news is coming into the market. So watch this video all the way to the end and let's dive right into the charts. On Friday night, Bitcoin opened its CME gap at around $60,745. We saw that Bitcoin had a little bit of upwards momentum, but it eventually was trading around this CME gap. But yesterday we saw a huge jump to the downside because there were a lot of tensions in the Middle East. So this is why there's a little bit of panic coming into the market. And now we are seeing a big jump back to the $58,000. I think that Bitcoin eventually will come back to this level and close the gap. But this is looking a little bit more bearish than bullish, of course. And we can also see that maybe Bitcoin is going to close the gap. And from there we can maybe see more downside. So yeah, keep in mind that this gap is still open at the $60,745. And we can maybe close the gap earlier this week or maybe in the coming weeks. And let me know in the comments if you think that Bitcoin is going to close the CME gap or not. And if we have a look on the daily time frame, we can see this horizontal support and resistance line was coming into play. And this is a very interesting critical horizontal level because we can see a lot of interesting support coming into the market, and we broke below this level and we're now retesting this as a resistance. So this is a very interesting level for Bitcoin to gain, but for now we are seeing a big rejection, so we can aim for lower levels, and this is also the indicator that we are going to see a more of a bigger crash. And also the overall trend is down, so I expect that Bitcoin is going to trade to the downside because you always have to trade with the trend. So we are in this downtrend and we are at this big resistance level, so we can expect a little bit of a rejection from this level. But eventually, of course, we want to see that Bitcoin is gaining more strength and eventually break this level to the top side, retest this previous resistance as support, and from there aim for higher levels. And yeah, eventually, of course, we want to break this trendline resistance to the top side, eventually create more topside momentum. And that, of course, would have a very bullish effect on the price of Bitcoin. And Bitcoin came all the way from this $69,000 high back to the $49,000 low. And yeah, we are seeing this huge downtrend unfolding on the 4-hour time frame. And Bitcoin is now creating a little bit of upwards momentum. We are creating a high. So yeah, eventually we want to see a higher low for Bitcoin unfolding, and that it will be around here. So if we can create a higher low, then we can create maybe a trend reversal for Bitcoin and create more topside momentum. So this could have a very bullish effect. So let's see if Bitcoin can create this higher low, and eventually I want to see a higher high after this high. And yeah, if we can also create a higher high and then we can create another higher low, then we can confirm the bullish uptrend, and the trend reversal will be in full effect. So this could unfold in the coming week or maybe in the coming month. So eventually we want to come back to this high of $69,000. And if we can reach this level in the coming days or weeks, that could have a very interesting effect on the sentiment of the market, of course. But for now, we have to wait that Bitcoin is going to create more upside momentum, because we don't want to fall below this level and create a lower high. Because if we create a lower high, because then we can come back to bear market stages, and that is something we don't want to see, of course. So yeah, let's see if Bitcoin can create more upside momentum and eventually create more bullish price action to the top side. And if we have a look at the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, we are now back at the extreme fear. Last week we're also at extreme fear, so yeah, the sentiment in the market is still at extreme fear, and this is something I like to see, because every time we were in the extreme fear, it is a very interesting place to buy. And yeah, currently we are at the $58,000 and at stages of extreme fear. So yeah, if you buy at these kind of stages of extreme fear, it is always a good place to buy in hindsight. And it is not a bad thing that we are currently in stages of extreme fear while we are at the $58,000. So there's a lot of upside potential for Bitcoin still possible. So let's see if Bitcoin can create a more bullish price action from here and come back in the stages of greed. And if we have a look on this daily chart, I was discussing this chart with you since we were in this sideways consolidation. And we are back at this huge critical support on the horizontal levels. And this is the very interesting support at around $58. So Bitcoin needs to hold this support this week. And let's see if Bitcoin can come back up And we also saw last week, we saw a pump above this level of the resistance around the 60,500. We were retesting this as support, but the support was not strong enough, and now we come back to this lower level. And yeah, let's see if Bitcoin can create more bullish momentum to the top side, because we're now retesting this previous resistance as support. And let's see if we can come back to this first big support around the 60,500. And I also need to paint this resistance level red, because we came back to this resistance level. And yeah, we now need to gain it again to create more bullish price action. So as I was saying, the trend is still down. So let's see if Bitcoin can create a little bit more upside momentum and create more bullish price action. And a very interesting chart I want to look at is this total public debt of America. The US total debt has no top. So that is why Bitcoin also has no top. And you can see they are printing like crazy. And this is the total debt of the US. And we can see more than a 35 trillion in total debt. And eventually this will go more exponential in the future, and this will mean that there is coming a lot of more money into the markets, and this will have a very bullish effect on the price of assets, so also on Bitcoin. So the total money supply is increasing, and this is why assets are also pumping in the future. So Donald Trump is also coming back to X, and tonight he will go live with Elon. And imagine if they are going to talk about Bitcoin and the future of Bitcoin, and that will be having, of course, a very bullish price effect. So I'm tuning in tonight to watch this live stream of Donald Trump with Elon Musk. So let's see if they are going to discuss Bitcoin, because I think Elon will introduce Bitcoin to X to maybe introduce microtransactions with Bitcoin. And if we have a look on the daily chart, we can see this broadening wedge is still in play for Bitcoin. We can see we are in the middle of this broadening wedge, and yeah, we're seeing a little bit of downside, of course, as I was talking about earlier in this video. But yeah, we want to see a retest of this topside formation, and that will be around the $69,000. But if we go back to all the way to this lower side support, then we will come back to the $52,000, and that is having a little bit of a bearish effect on the price of Bitcoin, of course. So let's see what we can do this week. And of course, there is still a CME gap open around this level. That will be around the $60,500. So let me know in the comments what you think. Are we going to visit the top side first, or are we going to visit the lower side support first? And the first altcoin I want to have a look at is Cardano. We can see Cardano is in this falling, broadening wedge formation with multiple touch points on the top side as resistance, and also multiple touch points on the downside as support. So let's see if Cardano can maybe break bullish, because this falling wedge is a typical bullish bias pattern, and it tends to break to the top side more often. And yeah, let's see if we can see a bullish break eventually. And we want to visit this top side resistance again around the 80 cents. But of course, there are also a lot of horizontal resistance and support levels for Cardano. And this will be a very interesting resistance, because in the past we can see a lot of touch points here as resistance and support. So if Cardano can break out of this wedge, this will be the first big support, and it will be around the 55 cents. And if we then go higher, then this will also be a very interesting support, because we can see a lot of resistance and support and resistance again coming into the market. So if we're breaking this level of the 55 cents, then the 66 cents will be another interesting resistance level for Cardano. So first we need to break out of this falling wedge and create more topside momentum, because Cardano is still a little bit underperforming in this bull market. So let me know in the comments what you think about Cardano, and if you're still into Cardano for the long term. Another interesting altcoin I want to have a look at is Chainlink. I've been discussing Chainlink when we were in this head and shoulders pattern, and I was saying if we break this level to the downside, we could see levels around $8, and this is exactly what we did. And we came all the way back to this $8 target. And on the weekly time frame, I was telling you that if we're going to break this head and shoulders to the downside, we will see levels around the $8. And if you bought at this green box of accumulation, you could have made a lot of interesting gains, because this box was a very interesting box of liquidity. And on the top side of this formation, I was telling you that there is a lot of liquidity and you can buy into the market, because from there we can maybe see a bounce for Chainlink. And yeah, that's exactly what we did. And from this low, you could already have made a significant gain. And I was buying here, and I hope you also bought the dip for Chainlink, because yeah, this is a very good long-term investment, I believe. And if we have a look on the shorter time frame, we can see we bounced from this green box of accumulation, and now we're a little bit in of a small uptrend. So let's see if Chainlink can come back to this resistance level. And of course, at this resistance, I will also take a little bit of profits, because from this accumulation zone, you're already up for almost 50% if we are going back to this resistance area. And that is exactly what you want to do, and that is how you make money in the crypto game. If you find this video useful, please leave a like and comment on the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.